Have you ever loved someone who pulled away just when things started to feel real? You could feel their connection, sense their care, but suddenly they became distant, quiet, unreachable. And you're left wondering, did I do something wrong? Did they stop caring? The silence feels like rejection, but what if it's not? What if the distance itself is proof that they care more than they know how to show? Love doesn't always appear the way we expect. Some people don't know how to hold it gently. They hold it like fire, something that could burn them if they get too close. These are the ones who love deeply but show it quietly. They're afraid of needing someone, afraid of being known too well. Their walls aren't made of arrogance, they're made of fear. Fear that love will open old wounds. Fear that closeness will mean losing control. Fear that being loved means eventually being left. Avoidants often love in silence. They don't chase. They don't beg. They don't speak the language of reassurance. Instead, they retreat. Not because they stop loving, but because love feels dangerous. Their heart races when things get close, not from excitement, but from panic. They were taught, often by life itself, that closeness brings pain. So when someone gets near enough to touch the parts of them they've buried for years, they pull back. Not to hurt you, but to protect themselves. It's confusing, isn't it? You see care in their eyes one day and coldness the next. You feel warmth in their tone, then distance in their silence. You sense love, but it hides behind caution. That's because for them, love feels unsafe. It awakens something they've spent years controlling, the need to connect, to trust, to depend. And that terrifies them more than loneliness ever did. Psychology calls it the avoidant attachment style. It often begins when someone grows up feeling unseen or emotionally unsafe. When love comes with conditions, criticism, or abandonment, the heart learns a dangerous rule: don't rely on anyone. You'll only get hurt. So they learn to live by distance. They learn that independence is safer than intimacy. But when they meet someone who touches their soul, that old defense collides with a new desire to love, to be loved. The result looks like conflict, but it's really survival. So when they act distant, don't mistake it for indifference. When they retreat, it's not rejection, it's regulation. It's their nervous system trying to breathe. Inside that silence, they're fighting themselves, battling between fear and longing. They think about you more than they'll ever admit. They replay words, moments, laughter, but they keep it hidden, afraid that showing it might make them vulnerable again. And if you've been on the receiving end of that silence, you're not crazy for feeling confused. You've just touched someone who loves differently, someone who's learning that love can be safe again. Stay with this message, because understanding this will change how you see people, how you love, and how you heal. When you begin to see love through the lens of fear and not rejection, you will realize something powerful. Distance doesn't always mean disconnection. Sometimes it's love trying to find the courage to stay. Distance is not the opposite of love. For some people, it's the only way they know how to love without losing themselves. When an avoidant steps back, it's not always to escape you. It's to survive the intensity of their own emotions. The closeness they feel triggers something ancient inside them, a memory that says, if I open up, I'll be hurt. So when they retreat, they're not running from you. They're running from the pain they fear will follow if they don't. This is why their silence often follows moments of deep connection. After laughter, vulnerability, or a glimpse of emotional closeness, they feel overwhelmed. Their nervous system interprets that warmth as danger. It's a reflex, not a rejection. It's the mind saying, slow down, this is too much. So they step back, withdraw, or become distant. And to the person who loves them, it feels like betrayal. But to them, it's the only way they can breathe again. Science tells us that avoidant individuals deactivate their attachment system when intimacy feels too close. They shut down emotionally to regain control. But here's what matters most. They don't do this because they've stopped caring. They do it because they care more than they know how to handle. Their love is intense, consuming, and unregulated. When you reach the parts of them they've kept hidden, they panic. They don't know how to exist in that vulnerability. So they retreat, not out of disinterest, but out of self-preservation. And yet, despite the fear, they come back, slowly, hesitantly, sometimes awkwardly. But they return, because something inside them wants to believe in love again. Something in them recognizes safety, even if it terrifies them. Their love doesn't speak in promises, it speaks in patterns. They might not say, "I miss you," but they'll find reasons to reach out. They'll check on you without admitting why. They'll linger in your presence, pretending it's coincidence. That's not inconsistency. It's conflict between their heart and their fear. Avoidants love differently. They don't show love with constant affection or emotional transparency. They show it in small, often unnoticed ways, in staying even when it's uncomfortable, in returning even after distance, in listening when words feel too heavy. They love through action, not performance. But their fear makes their love look uncertain, fragmented, or cold. The truth is, their love is steady underneath the chaos. It's just hidden beneath layers of protection. If you look closely, you'll see it. You'll see it in the way they pay attention to your habits, how they remember your details, how they soften when you speak gently. You'll see it in the moments they let their guard down, even for a second. Every time they choose to stay, even when fear tells them to run, that's love. Every time they open up even just a little, that's courage. And if you've ever wondered whether their distance means they don't care, remember this: avoidance is not apathy. It's anxiety disguised as independence. It's fear masquerading as control. The more they feel, the more they hide. But their silence carries meaning. Their return carries hope, and their struggle carries proof. Proof that love still lives in them, even if it doesn't know how to speak yet. So when you face that distance, don't see it as rejection. See it as love trying to find a way through fear. Because sometimes the ones who seem hardest to love are the ones who are fighting the hardest just to believe they're worthy of it. Fear sits quietly beneath every act of avoidance. It hides behind logic, behind excuses, behind words like "I just need space." But beneath it all lies a heart that once reached out and was met with pain. That's the root of avoidance, not indifference, not coldness, but fear of being seen and rejected for who they truly are. When an avoidant pulls away, they're not trying to erase you. They're trying to protect the part of themselves that still trembles from old wounds. They crave love just like everyone else, but love doesn't feel safe. Vulnerability feels like standing unguarded in a storm. It exposes everything they've tried to keep hidden: the insecurity, the doubt, the belief that they are too much or not enough. When someone loves them, that belief is challenged, and that's terrifying. Their instinct says run before they see too much, before they leave like everyone else did, and so they retreat. They hide behind distance, hoping safety will return. But safety without connection feels like emptiness, and soon they ache again for the closeness they ran from. Avoidance is a cycle of wanting and fearing at the same time. It's a tug of war between desire and defense. The mind says, "Don't get attached," while the heart whispers, "I already am." They long for connection, but they fear dependence. They crave closeness, but they can't handle the vulnerability it requires. Every time they start to care more deeply, their walls rise higher, not because they want to lose you, but because they want to protect themselves from the heartbreak they believe is inevitable. That's why their silence after closeness feels so loud. It's the sound of inner conflict. They don't know how to explain what's happening inside them, so they disappear, thinking distance will calm their chaos. But it never truly does. Because love isn't something that can be silenced, it lingers in the spaces they try to escape. They think of you while convincing themselves they shouldn't. They replay the warmth, the laughter, the comfort, and it both soothes and scares them. Their fear says love will hurt, but their soul says love is what they've always wanted. Understanding this doesn't mean you should excuse emotional withdrawal, but it does mean seeing it differently. It means recognizing that their fear is not about you. It's about what love represents to them. It's about the part of them still trying to heal from years of feeling unworthy, unseen, or unloved. And if you can hold that awareness, if you can see the fear behind the distance, it transforms how you respond. You stop taking it personally. You stop chasing validation. You start understanding that their avoidance isn't rejection. It's self-protection dressed in silence. But make no mistake, this fear doesn't define them forever. People can change. Hearts can unlearn fear when they're met with patience, consistency, and compassion. When an avoidant begins to feel emotionally safe, their walls start to soften. They begin to trust that closeness doesn't mean control, that vulnerability doesn't equal weakness, that love doesn't always end in loss. It's a slow unfolding, a hesitant surrender. But every small moment of openness is a victory over fear. And that's what love can do. It can rewire fear. It can remind the broken heart that closeness doesn't have to destroy, that connection can heal what distance could never fix. Because love isn't about never being afraid. It's about learning that fear no longer needs to run the show. Love expressed through fear looks different, but it's still love. Avoidants rarely use words to express what they feel. Instead, they communicate through subtle actions that reveal their heart when you know where to look. They may not say, "I love you," but they show it when they remember your smallest preferences, when they fix something you mentioned once in passing, or when they silently do something to make your life easier. To them, love is not about speaking, it's about showing. It's about proving care through control, because words feel risky, but actions feel safe. When they sit quietly beside you instead of leaving, that's love. When they soften their tone after pulling away, that's love. When they start letting you see their exhaustion, their flaws, or the parts of themselves they usually keep hidden, that's not weakness, that's trust. For an avoidant, vulnerability is the ultimate risk, and letting someone witness their inner world means more than any grand gesture could ever express. Every time they allow themselves to stay open, even briefly, they are fighting against years of conditioning that told them closeness is dangerous. That battle alone is an act of love. They also love by protection. When they sense tension, they may retreat, not because they don't care, but because they fear saying something that could break the bond. Their silence in moments of conflict isn't always indifference. Sometimes it's restraint. They've learned that shutting down keeps the peace, even when it builds distance. They think they're protecting the connection by avoiding confrontation, unaware that love grows stronger not through avoidance, but through understanding. Yet even that avoidance is love misdirected. Love trying to keep things safe, even if it doesn't know how. An avoidance love is quiet, but powerful. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't seek validation. It lives in the background, steady and alert, always watching, always protecting. And though it may not look like affection in the traditional sense, it's sincere. They express it in ways that won't expose their heart completely, through dependability, small favors, quiet consistency. They are often the ones who will show up when you least expect it, offering support without asking for acknowledgement. Their pride hides the depth of their care, but it's there, always present, even beneath silence. If you pay attention, you'll feel it, in the way they remember what matters to you, in the way they come closer after pulling away, testing if it's still safe, in the way they open up about something small, waiting to see if you'll hold it gently. These are not random moments, they're milestones in their healing. Each act of openness is a whisper that says, "I'm trying. I want to trust. I want to love." The truth is, avoidants don't want to stay distant forever. They want love that doesn't demand perfection, love that feels calm, love that allows them to breathe. And when they start to trust that love can exist without judgment or control, something changes. The armor begins to crack, the walls loosen, their actions become softer, more intentional, more transparent. They may never express love like someone who wears their heart on their sleeve. But when they start choosing connection over distance, that is their version of "I love you." So when they reach out again after retreating, don't underestimate what that means. It's not a casual gesture, it's courage. It's the heart's quiet rebellion against fear. It's love trying in its own fragile way to be understood. Loving someone who fears love demands a different kind of strength. It's not the strength to chase, to fix, or to prove. It's the strength to remain centered in your worth while understanding theirs. You cannot rescue someone from their fear, but you can be the calm that reminds them safety still exists. You can't force them to open their heart, but you can hold your own open long enough for them to remember what trust feels like. Patience is not weakness, it's power in its quietest form. When you love an avoidant, patience becomes your language, not the kind that waits endlessly, but the kind that moves with compassion and boundaries. You don't shrink yourself to keep their comfort intact. You don't beg for affection that can't be given yet. Instead, you love with awareness, aware of their fear, aware of your needs, aware that healing takes time. You give understanding, but not at the cost of your peace. Because real love isn't about losing yourself to reach someone else. It's about creating a space where both can grow. Your empathy can become a mirror that teaches them what safety feels like. Every time you respond with calm instead of anger, they feel it. Every time you stay grounded instead of chasing, they notice. Love like that rewires something deep within them. It whispers that closeness doesn't have to mean danger, that love can exist without pressure, that being seen doesn't have to hurt. You become living proof that love can be gentle, that connection doesn't have to destroy independence, that vulnerability can exist without chaos. But you must remember, your love cannot replace their healing. They must face their fear, just as you must honor your boundaries. You can walk beside them, but you cannot walk for them. True love doesn't drag someone toward awareness, it invites them. It gives them space to choose growth. And if they do choose it, if they start showing up differently, staying longer, speaking more honestly, then you've witnessed transformation. That's what love does. When it's met with patience and truth, it awakens courage. Courage doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like them staying instead of leaving, answering instead of withdrawing, apologizing instead of deflecting. It's subtle, but it's sacred. Every small step they take toward openness is a victory over fear. Every time they choose to stay present instead of running, they're rewriting the story that once told them love is unsafe. And you, by standing firm in your own self-worth, become part of that healing, not by saving them, but by embodying love that doesn't demand control or chase. Loving an avoidant will test your patience, your confidence, and your clarity. But it can also teach you profound lessons about unconditional love, empathy, and strength. It teaches you that love is not possession, it's presence. It teaches you that connection grows when pressure fades. It reminds you that the most powerful love doesn't scream, it steadies. And when both people begin to understand that fear and love can coexist without destroying each other, something changes. Walls begin to crumble. Distance turns into dialogue. Silence becomes understanding. And what was once guarded begins to glow with a quiet kind of trust. Because love, when met with patience and courage, doesn't just heal the one who avoids, it heals the one who stays. It proves that even the most fearful hearts can learn to feel safe again. The beauty of love is that it never stops evolving. Even in fear, even in silence, it's always trying to find its way home. When an avoidant begins to lower their guard, it's not because you pushed them, it's because they finally feel safe enough to stop running. They start to realize that love doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't threaten their freedom. It doesn't punish them for needing time. Real love waits, not passively, but patiently, with steady energy that says you don't have to hide anymore. That's when you start to see their transformation. The same person who once withdrew begins to stay a little longer. The one who avoided eye contact starts to meet your gaze without flinching. The person who once ran from emotions begins to speak, haltingly at first, but truthfully. It's not a grand revelation. It's quiet, it's subtle, but it's everything. Because for them, staying present when they want to flee is courage. Being seen without defense is bravery. And that courage only grows when love is patient enough to hold space for it. But the healing isn't only theirs, it's yours too. Loving someone who fears intimacy forces you to confront your own relationship with love. It asks you to question, do I know how to love without control? Can I stay open without losing myself? Can I offer compassion without turning it into sacrifice? These questions shape you, they refine you. They strip love of ego and turn it into something purer, something that flows from understanding, not expectation. True love is not a game of convincing. It's not about proving your worth until someone finally believes it. It's about standing tall in your value, offering love freely, and allowing others to meet you at their own pace. Because love that requires chasing becomes performance. Love that honors timing becomes power. And power in love isn't dominance, it's presence. It's the ability to stay calm in uncertainty, to believe in connection even when fear tries to disguise it as distance. When you love an avoidant, you learn that real strength lies in restraint. The ability to hold compassion without collapsing, to stay grounded while someone else finds their footing. You learn to love without grasping, to give without losing, to care without controlling. That kind of love transforms everything it touches. It's the kind of love that teaches others how to heal, not through pressure, but through peace. And when that love finally reaches the heart that once feared it, something remarkable happens. They begin to unlearn the idea that love is danger. They start to associate closeness with calm. They begin to see that affection doesn't mean abandonment, that trust doesn't mean control. You can almost feel the shift, their walls turning into windows, their silence turning into presence. They may not say it out loud, but their actions start to whisper it every day. I'm learning, I'm healing, I'm trying. That's when love fulfills its purpose, not to fix, but to free, not to demand, but to awaken. Because the deepest truth about avoidant love is this: when they begin to stay instead of run, when they begin to feel instead of flee, it means they've found something they never thought they'd have again. Safety inside connection. And that's not just their healing, that's love at its purest form. Love that transforms fear into faith, distance into closeness, and self-protection into trust.